Hey guys, welcome back to Cam&Fam. Today I am doing a collab with a YouTuber that I met through YouTube. Her name is also Cam&Fam, except I don't think her name is Cameron, I think it's Cambria. So I'm gonna have her video linked in the description, and it'd mean a lot to me if you go and check her out. She's gonna be doing the same video as me, which is how we found out we were pregnant and how we told our parents. So I've thought a lot about what I'm gonna put into this video. It's a pretty personal story, and a lot of the details I'm not sure I want everybody to know, so just know that there's more to the story than is in this video. But without further ado, let's get started. So I guess this story starts last summer of 2017. Me and my boyfriend had been dating for exactly 2 years last summer. Our anniversary is in June. So I was on birth control. I used the ring, the Nuva ring. I didn't take the pill because I had taken the pill before. I had been taking it since I was 12. I just wasn't never really taking it, so I decided to switch to the Nuva ring about 3 months before I got pregnant, and so I switched to that. I was late on picking up my prescription for that. I was a few days late, but I used it anyways. It's probably fine. I mean, of course I'm gonna be like extra safe this month because I was a little bit late, but that is why I guess you could say I got pregnant, because it was not put in right after my other period ended. So somewhere in the middle of July, I had implantation bleeding, which is what happens when the fertilized egg implants itself in the uterus. So that happened, which it only happens if you're pregnant. So obviously that was the first indication that I was pregnant. It was way too early for me to get my period. My period always comes at the same time. It never comes super early or super late. So it was like 2 weeks before I was even supposed to get my period. So I was like, something's up. This isn't my period. It's a very light flow, and I don't have a very light flow. So I Googled it. I was like, why am I bleeding? And I found out what implantation bleeding was. I know my body very well, and I knew that I wasn't just getting my period early. So I was like, okay, well, I'm pregnant. I told Landon that that's what happened, and he didn't believe me. He was like, no, it's just your period. It just came early. Trust me. I'm like, no, I know my body. That's not what that is. I made him drive me to CVS, and we bought prenatal vitamins. Like, I wasn't 100% positive, but I pretty much was. If I was pregnant, I wanted to have the baby be safe and have all the vitamins it needs. So I made him buy me those. As I was checking out to buy the vitamins, there was this girl from my school there, and she like saw me, but I don't think she saw what I was buying. But she like waved at me, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna tell everyone I'm buying pregnancy vitamins. But I don't think she saw, so that didn't happen. During those few weeks when I was waiting for my period to come, which I pretty much knew it wasn't going to, I just went like super crazy. I was like looking at names already. Like, I had pretty much decided in my head that I was pregnant. And so I was like, how am I gonna tell my parents? And I'm like, okay, I need to stop worrying about this. I'll start thinking about all these things after I take a pregnancy test and know that I'm for sure pregnant. I think I was like 2 days late. Me and Landon went to Walmart, and I waited in the car, and he went in there, and he's like super nervous to buy the test. He like didn't want people looking at him or judging him because he's so young. We went home. I peed on it, and I didn't want to look at it right away, so I covered it up. I called my brother up, and of course my parents didn't know yet, so I was like, Corbin, I need to show you something, it's important. So he came upstairs, and then he's like, what? And I'm like, I just took a test, because I had told my brother. Me and my brother are super close, so I like told him when I told Landon. We were just sitting there waiting, so I like saw it, and of course it was positive. And I mean, I wasn't super shocked, I pretty much already knew. But then I was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna tell my parents? I look at Landon and he's like freaking out. At first he didn't know how to read it though. Him and my brother like don't know how to read pregnancy tests because they're stupid and they're boys. So they were like, what does that mean? And I'm like, it means that I'm pregnant. He's like, no it doesn't, you're just messing with me. Eventually they like read the instructions and realized that that's what that meant. Landon was just really silent and just like scared. He was just sitting there like not talking. It kind of freaked me out because I was like, oh, what is he doing? I was like freaking out because Landon was freaking out. And my brother was just like, great. My brother wasn't really happy or sad. He was just like, okay. And then right after I took the test, I had to go downstairs to eat with my family. My mom was calling me for dinner and I was like freaking out. Like my heart was racing and I was just eating dinner and trying to seem as normal as possible. And like Landon couldn't even come downstairs to eat dinner with us. I was like, oh, Landon's not feeling well. 2 days later, I had to leave to go on vacation to South Padre, and then we were gonna go to Florida also. And I lived in Texas at the time, next to Landon. We were like next door neighbors. So we went on vacation and I was like, okay, I'm gonna tell them after we get back from vacation, because I didn't want to wait super long, but I didn't want to like ruin the vacation and have it all be about that. And I just wanted them to enjoy their vacation before they had to deal with my whole situation. I talked to Landon while I was on vacation. I FaceTimed him all the time because I was just in my room not feeling well for most of the vacation. So I was just in the hotel room FaceTiming him while everyone else was at the beach, and we just talked about things for hours. We pretty much came to terms with it and we made like a plan. Okay, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna get money? At no point did we ever think I should get an abortion. At no point was that even a consideration. Nobody said that. Not my parents, not my boyfriend. It was just not in anyone's minds. From the second we found out that she existed, she was loved and wanted. And I did consider giving her up for adoption for the first few weeks, but I decided against it because I know that I can give her the life that she deserves. While I'm talking to Landon, he's like, don't tell anybody, don't tell your sister, don't tell anyone, like we need to wait to tell people. I was just not really excited, but I just wanted to tell everyone. So I told my older sister, because I told her when I first had the bleeding, I was like, Addison, like I had the bleeding, like what does this mean? Because she's older and obviously I thought she would know what to do. And she was like, it's nothing, it's seriously nothing, don't worry about it. So I told my sister. She was like, I'm gonna be an aunt. And I told my sister's roommate, who I'm also very good friends with. She's like another sister to me. So I told her. She was like, I hope it's a girl. I'm gonna buy so many clothes. I guess my sister told her like, the next day after I told my sister, and she told my mom, and she said, don't tell Cameron that I told you. She wants to tell you. Just act like you don't know. She can't know that I told you because she didn't want me to be mad at her for telling my parents. After we leave Padre, we go to Louisiana and stop in New Orleans for a day, and then we drove to Florida. We still had like an hour left to drive till we got to New Orleans. We were in Louisiana. We stopped to eat and I got catfish, and I got back in the car and I just really wasn't feeling well. I was just laying down and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw up. So that's the first time I threw up during my pregnancy. A bag of like beef jerky that still had beef jerky in it, and I just opened the bag and started throwing up in the bag. And my little sister's like, Mom, Cameron just threw up. And I was like still throwing up, so people were like handing me cups and I kept like filling up these giant McDonald's cups, and like it was so bad. I threw up so much, it was disgusting, and the whole car smelled like so bad. And at that point they had already known that I was pregnant, but I didn't know that they knew. I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna totally know. And of course they did know. When we got to Florida, my sister ended up telling me that she told my parents because my parents were discussing we should move to Florida, it's so pretty there, and they were looking at houses, and I was like, whatever, we're not moving. I know we're not moving. And I was telling that to my sister. She's like, why would you say that they're not moving? And I'm like, because I'm pregnant and they don't know, and when they find out that I'm pregnant, they're not gonna make me move away from Landon. Like, that's ridiculous. Lo and behold, they did, but anyways, so my sister was like, Cameron, they do know you're pregnant, and they still are saying you're moving. So I'm like, wait, how the hell do they know that I'm pregnant? And she was like, well, I told them. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, what'd they say? What happened? I wasn't too mad at my sister, really. And I was kind of glad that they knew, because that was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I didn't have to tell them anymore. And I was like, so you guys know? And they're like, know what? I'm like, Addie told you. And they're like, we should go on the balcony and talk about this. So me and my dad and my mom went out on the balcony and we talked about everything, and they didn't really seem mad. They were like, okay, what do you want to do? No matter what, we're here for you. Like, what's the plan? I can do this. This is what I want to do. I'll homeschool. They were like, okay, well, we're still moving. And I would just like cried because I knew I was gonna have to move away from Landon. Sorry, it got too dark outside, so I turned on the light. We had that talk and it lasted for about an hour, and they were also kind of excited. They were like, I'm gonna be grandma and grandpa. I'm glad that my sister told them, because she got like the initial shock over with, because if I would have told them, they probably would have like freaked out at me. And I'm glad that they had time to process it before we had that talk. So after that, I told my younger sisters, because obviously they didn't know yet. And so I told Avon, and I was like, Avon, I'm gonna have a little baby. There's like a baby in my belly. She's like, Mom's letting you? And I'm like, what do you mean she's letting me? I just thought that was so cute. So that's how I told my parents. But then obviously we had to tell Landon's parents, which is the part of the story that I didn't really want to go into. But let me just say that they do not like me at all. They didn't even know me and Landon were still dating. Maybe one day I'll explain why, but as of right now, let's just keep it at they just hated me. They never wanted to see my face again last time I talked to them. Obviously me and my mom and Landon and everyone was so scared to tell his parents. Me and my mom and my dad had been like telling Landon, like, when are you gonna tell your parents? You need to tell your parents. And like, they just need to know, they can't not know. So he decided, he was like, okay, I'm gonna tell my parents. Like a week after I got back from Florida. He lives with his mom and his stepdad, so he obviously told them first. And then he called his dad in front of them and was like, Cameron's pregnant. And like I said, they didn't even know we were dating, so it was like a huge shock to everyone pretty much. His dad came over from Dallas, which is like 45 minutes away, with Landon's stepmom. They all started talking. They called my parents and were like, you guys need to come over, we need to talk. And I was like, do I come? Like, if everyone's gonna be like talking about me and my baby, I should have like a say, like a voice in this. But they're like, no, don't come. It's just adults, Landon's not even here. They were all just talking about it. None of them were saying like get an abortion or anything, but they didn't think that it was Landon's. Everything was like hypothetical because they didn't think it was. They were saying right away, like, when you get a paternity test, which I'm not upset about. I agree that we should have got one, just so, because I knew and Landon knew, but just so everyone was on the same page and we can move on from the, is it even Landon's kid? So after that, his parents didn't even want to like still talk to me until they even knew it was Landon's kid. And whenever Landon hung out with me or we went and looked at baby stuff, they were like, don't get too attached to this baby. It might not even be yours. I mean, that's understandable. I understand why they were saying that. A few weeks later, we got a test done, and obviously it came back and said that it was Landon's. So then I moved to Florida, and we're still dating. And of course, he's gonna come down for the birth, or at least try to. It's an 11-hour drive, so hopefully right when I go into labor, I can call him and be like, let's go, come to Florida, and he can just go and drive. Everyone's super excited for her to get here. She has 2 loving grandmas and 2 loving grandpas. I'm obviously very lucky to be in the situation that I'm in, to not have been kicked out of my house, to not have been told to get an abortion by my boyfriend or my parents. Everybody was super supportive, and I'm so grateful that I have the people that I do in my life. Obviously, for some people, it doesn't go that way, and there's no judgment to you if you decide that the best situation for you and your baby to be in is adoption, especially when they're younger and they won't have a house if they don't. So that was the story of how I found out I was pregnant and how I told pretty much everybody. Like I said, please check out Cambria's video. Link is in the description, and it would really be awesome if you guys go and gave her video a like and subscribe to her channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.